And welcome back to Football Terrace FC. Hope you're doing very, very well this morning. Do us a big, big favor. Smash the like button, hit the share button, hit the retweet button. We're here to talk Alex Telles to Manchester United. Major reports that he has signed a 5-year deal with Manchester United. Terms are agreed, agent fees agreed, just the negotiations between Porto and Manchester United to sort out. And this, listen, we can argue over who you would rather, who you want, rare. This is a player that Man United need. Quality on the flanks, creativity, goals, assists, age. Age is absolutely imperative. And the reason I always talk about age being absolutely imperative is the simple fact that you need elder statesmen, experienced players that have won things. I'm sure, I haven't checked, but I'm sure being at Porto, Alex Telles has won something in Portugal. But it's more the element of being 27 years of age, being an elder statesman, having that life experience, coming into a dressing room that's full of lots of young, talented fledglings, and helping move Manchester United forward. I want it. There is one concern around this deal, and we will address it now right at the top of the video. Paris Saint-Germain are also monitoring the player. And there is this part of me that wants to guard against a sort of another Man United setup by the media in terms of they already know that he's going to Paris Saint-Germain, but they start the heavy links to Man United just to sort of take the feet from underneath us. However, I want this player. I want this player so much. For Ollie, I want it for this squad. I want us to have a boost. Would I have preferred this signing and the Sancho deal to happen before we kicked the ball against Crystal Palace? Of course. But this notion that if you don't get all your business done before you kick your first ball of the season, it's a write-off of a summer. I'm going to do the research on this. But I sat there earlier on today and I'm like, United signed Berbatov, Rooney, and Dwight York on transfer deadline day under Fergie. We also signed Anthony Martial on deadline day, and those players have done pretty damn well. I would also love to go through the top 6 sides and look at their performance in the Premier League over 30 years and look at how many players they sign after the first ball is kicked, i.e. Liverpool have played 2 games competitively this season, and they've just made 2 brilliant signings. I kind of get the feeling that because of what we did in the summer of 2007 with Nani, Anderson and Hargreaves, I almost feel like there's this element of like, what's the word I want to use for this? I almost feel like there's this element of that one brilliant summer has made us think that's how Man United have operated every single summer since day dot. Even when by the way, and since that point, the summer of 2007, how many big windows did Man United actually have where we brought in marquee players at the top of their game, like an Alex Telles, like a Donny van der Beek? Robin van Persie was signed so late, he could only make the bench for the opening game of the season against Everton. So it wasn't quite after a ball was kicked, but very, very close. Just go back and look, do the research. When the season begun and how close to that start date did we sign our marquee players, or did we add people to the squad? It's happened a lot, mind you, since Fergie's gone. But Gary Neville put out this notion that good clubs do their business before a ball is kicked. I think it's a fair comment from him. But how often does that actually happen at football clubs? Even Chelsea, that have had an impeccable window, might still add 2. Are probably going to add 2 more players after balls have been kicked in Mendy and Declan Rice. I actually think this is a fallacy that we have created as fans, that this is how it operates. And again, I don't know the answers. I'm going to do the research on it. But I want your views and opinions. Tell us, for around 18 to 20 million euros, how good a deal would that be for Manchester United? What are your confidence levels in relation to this deal being done? Donny van der Beek, and tell us, how good a summer so far would that be for Manchester United? How does that elevate the team? And if you have any concerns, I truly want to know right now. Do me a big favor. Smash the living daylights out of that like button. We're now on 158 likes. Come on. That should be soaring past 1,000 right this minute. Come on, my people. Come on, my viewers. Come on, my subscribers. Hit that button right now. Skype lines are going to be opened. I want your views. I want your opinions. Give us a call. Jeremy, one of my members here, says good morning. And by the way, you are going to see the new. There'll be a proper video later. But welcome, as I said at the beginning, to Football Terrace FC. Remember that. Give us a call right now. I want to hear from you. Big show we did last night that is still killing it on social media as well in relation to Liverpool signing Jota. We've got Iwazi. He's going to be first on the line here. Iwazi, what you saying, my bro?
How you doing, Terry?
I'm very good. Alex Telles to Man United. Tell me your opinions on that deal.
You know, it's actually quite interesting because Romano came out and said that Man United step by step were getting a left back and right winger. So that's kind of giving me some I'm quite optimistic that we'll get him. But the worry is that agents and clubs have been using Man United's name to spark attention for players. So I'm quite guarded in that term, but I'm hopeful we'll get him. For 20 million, Alex Telles, I'm taking him over Regulon, but that's just, I've always said that. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Bro, I completely understand where you're coming from about being, thank you for your call, by the way, about being guarded, about holding back from getting maybe a little bit overzealous about this deal. I think that's a very sensible approach to take and a way to view this potential transfer. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Next up, we've got Z on the channel. Z, welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say? Well, we did actually accept the call there from Z, but Z didn't answer. We'll jump on to the next call here. This is Nick. Nick, welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say? Oh, just as I answered, Nick also hung up. We've got Pav on the line now. Pav, welcome back to the channel, my friend. Alex Telles to Manchester United. Give me your thoughts.
Well, we obviously know that even when we were looking at Regulon, there was but concrete reports about it. But then I'm also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are we being used right now to create another bidding with this guy? Because obviously the PSG links, even though they probably don't need him and he's just going to be a bench player for them, at least if he does come to us, there's competition there with Luke Shaw and himself. But I agree with you that we do need him. And obviously, when you look back at his stats for the last 3 seasons, I think it's something like 18 goals and 30 assists for a left back or something like that in the last 3 seasons. So there is someone who does go up and attack, runs down the flanks. Defensively, I've looked at his stats compared to Luke Shaw's. Defensively, he's not as good as Luke Shaw, but going up front, he literally smashes every one of Luke Shaw's stats going up. And
yeah, I mean, absolutely. On an attacking point,
they are 2 different kind of players.
They are,
you
and
need that option.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there are certain times where you could. I always look at this with a modern day fullback and a player like an Alex Telles. There are certainly times where you can just play with both on the field at the same time. There'll be moments in the season where we're going to play with 3 at the back. And we're going to use fullbacks, and it's perfect for that. You see, Arsenal are doing that very, very well at this moment in time. It gives Man United that extra strength and string to their bow. Danny joins us as well now. Danny, what did you make of this deal? Do you think it's genuine? We've got big reports coming out of France that he's agreed this 5-year deal. Are you in a space where you don't want to get your hopes up yet, or are you quite confident United will pull this off?
It's not a question of getting my hopes up. It's just me knowing for a fact that Manchester United name is used and abused in the transfer window. Like, we are the most. I put out a tweet the other day basically saying, the transfer market's a dirty game, and Manchester United is the most valuable player, and that's why it's difficult to, when you see something like this. So, information came out, we've agreed a 5-year deal, and David Ornstein from The Athletic said, actually, no, according to sources at Porto, neither thing has happened. No contact at all between Man United and Porto, nothing, not even intermediary contact. And then actually, from their perspective, nothing from the player either. So which is it? Why agree a 5-year deal and then it's we're monitoring the situation? I don't, it's one of those. And another thing as well, with Fabrizio Romano, with the Sancho thing, I always suspected he was where he was getting his information from. And he pretty much confirmed it on that podcast he did with the Norwegian guy that used to play for Leeds or Sheffield United. You had him on the
Fjordhoff. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, yeah. Well, Fabrizio Romano basically said he respects Manchester United's position, that we never agreed wages with Jadon Sancho, but he spoke to the agent that said otherwise. And that's where we are in the transfer market. You've got different parties telling people different things. So when it comes to this Tellez, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we missed out on a regular, so immediately after that, you know, this is the next name that pops up. And if you actually do a bit more research, you'll find once again, this is a left back that's been offered to us. This is not a player that was on an original list for left backs, and we were like, let's go get these guys. His agent, Pino Javi, if I'm pronouncing his name, I'm not pronouncing his name wrong. It's Rio Ferdinand's former agent. Apparently he was on a flight 2 weeks ago to England trying to get a deal done. So this is an agent touting around the player because he's 27 and he wants to get him a big move. And then now you're seeing PSG. Now you're already seeing news PSG ramping up, you know, stepping it up to get Tellez. This is going to be another one of those things where the player probably goes elsewhere, and then it looks like Man United have missed out, and they have to brief the media saying no.
Yeah, and that's
brother, that's interested in him.
Yeah.
And let me just say one more thing on the Reguilon one, right? This is a Reguilon. This was really I find interesting. The fact that the player's gone to Tottenham and Tottenham have agreed to 2 buyback clauses. Not one, it's usually one or the other. 2 tells you the player wasn't desperate to come to Manchester United, and that's how Tottenham got in the door in the first place.
Yeah.
That says to me, from the outside looking in, that deal was dead. But yet, do we get that update from the media? Manchester United want this player.
Yeah, and mate, and that's where, bruv, and you're absolutely right.
They just keep us in the mix.
No, of course, and that's why I said this yesterday. You know, people are attacking Man United for saying that where Man United are saying we're angry that there's this frenzy in social media about us, and this is why I'm saying to fans, I know you agree with me on this. We want the Glazers out. We don't respect 95% of what they do. However, the media know that they can manipulate this pain. They know that they can manipulate the emotion of Man United fans to drive clicks. I watched what Julien Laurent said yesterday, and who he's attacking, I agree with. The frustration, I agree with. But then you start hearing the missing context or lies in what's being said. And on the Reguilon deal, I was saying yesterday, if we don't sign a left back and Reguilon does well at Spurs, you will slowly start to see the media, and clip this up, people, so you can come back and go, Terry's right again. You will see the media slowly start to mitigate and remove the buyout clause and the clauses that made Man United pull away from their reports. It's the same as what happens with the Haaland deal. The amount of new subscribers to my channel, when I mentioned Haaland's £50 million buyout clause, they're like, does he? Because it isn't that well publicized in mainstream media. It isn't what's discussed when looking at why Man United removed themselves from that deal, because that doesn't fit the narrative that sometimes Man United do make good decisions. And as you say, I get a feeling, looking at it now, that Man United were not involved in the Reguilon deal at any point this week, as an example. But our names were kept in it by the agent. Spurs then come in, and it sets up this whole, and it's a great narrative. And Tottenham would want this because everyone cares about PR. Wow, we got him. Look at the Thiago thing. It turns out now we were lied to for a good month. We did inquire about Thiago, and Thiago told the agent said that he is set on Liverpool. So we went, okay, thank you. And we moved on and we signed Donny van der Beek. But between us inquiring and Thiago signing yesterday, we quite literally had stories every other day from the media saying Bayern Munich is still expecting a bid. Bayern Munich is still expecting this. Man United is still in the race. And then once the deal was over, you hear Fabrizio come out and say, yeah, Man United looked at him, knew they couldn't get him, so they went and bought somebody else. Now, I'm not blaming the media here. It's Shrimp Bear. I'm not. I'm blaming that. One sec, mate. I'm blaming the fans because you make it easy, because you want Woodward and because you want the Glazers attacked. You set yourself up for people to lie about your football club. And until you start saying we want to condemn, but we want to condemn with facts, you're always going to have this. And the only people who get damaged by this are you emotionally. And this is why I was saying all day yesterday, people have got to start to relax a little bit more when it comes to these stories that are coming out. And yeah, I react to them. We do videos on them. That's the point. You've had Pav come on and say something different to Daniel. Daniel's saying something different to me. That's what we're here for as a community. What I find interesting is that we're getting linked with Tellus. Imagine it turns out that none of this is true about us with Tellus. We got offered him, and for whatever reason, we didn't want him, right? This isn't Man United missing out on a player. This is Man United not wanting him because we have a plan further down the line. But that element is missed out. The media are not telling you that because they know you want to be angry at the club. And it's why in my tweet advertising this video, I said, we have to guard against another Man United setup with this. Do I want Alex Tellus to Man United to be true? Absolutely. Am I fearful that we're being strung along again? Absolutely. So bear that in mind. Like I said, with every Thiago video we did, 95% sure he's going to Liverpool. I'd like him, but I'm pretty sure he's going to Liverpool. What annoyed me in the last couple of days wasn't Liverpool signing Thiago. It was seeing Man United fans cry their eyes out about it. It made no sense to me. iTest is with us now. iTest, what you saying, bro?
Yes, I want to respond to you defending the Glazers for walking away from who's like the red one.
I test. Stop. If you're going to talk, can you have good signal because it's cutting in and out? I'm defending the Glazers. Go for it.
No. I want to respond to you defending the Glazers walking away from the deals like the Reguilon deal and the Haaland deal, because for me, I agree. We should be walking away from these deals because we don't want to get bullied. But if you're going to walk away, look at other targets. When Haaland, when they ask for the release clause, okay, then we don't want that release clause. Okay, let's look at other youngsters around Haaland's age. Look for a replacement. Get Alexander Isak, for example.
Bruv, shut your mouth about that play. You'll get banned from this channel if you mention him again, bro.
Maybe not.
I know. I'm joking with you, bro. Let me just say this on this, right? See, this is where I get confused, and I want Man United fans that come on the air to state what they want the strategy to be, so we can hold them to account for their opinions. Because I hear people crying about how Liverpool have been so particular, so what's the word I want to use here? When you do something to granular detail, meticulous in their transfer business, that they find a player and they go, right, he's the guy. And they move heaven and earth to get their guy as a general rule. Yet Man United are like, no, we need 2 or 3 people on a list. So we moan that Liverpool do it like that way and that we don't. And when we start to operate more like Liverpool do, we get angry about it. What do you want? Us to have 1 or 2 strikers that we think could come in and massively improve us, and that's it. And if we don't land, then we stick with what we've got. Or go second choice, third choice. What about a 4th choice? How personally, ITES, do you want it to be done? Because my point is this. There are only ever a handful of players that are going to be right for your system at any one time. And I'm not talking ability. It's everything else that surrounds it. It's the attitude. It's attitude. It's availability. It's do they want to even play in England and for Manchester United? You have to factor all these things in. And that, for me, is where I'd like to understand from you. How do you personally want the Glazers and Woodward to approach the transfer market? What strategy do you want them to have?
Like I said, I do agree with them walking away from these deals where they try to add stupid clauses like the buyback clause, the release clauses. However, with the Glazers, when we didn't land the target of Haaland, for example, we never got anyone else. We got Igalo, who's nothing like Haaland. He's in a different age bracket.
Yep.
He's a different type of player.
Yeah.
So it's like we completely changed our plans. At least go for someone in the same age range of Haaland.
Yeah, so it depends. But it depends.
That statement
go on, Pav. Go on, Pav.
All right, so you're saying, that why didn't we go for anyone after Haaland? 100%, I'm sure that Ollie thought he was going to get him, right? So when Haaland went to Dortmund, right, they paid peanuts for him. They took the clause on, his buyout clause. How long did we have left to go out and look for someone of Haaland's skill and whatnot, like what he can do? How long did we have? We didn't have enough time. So why would you use that time to go buy someone to you might not have scouted and whatnot?
I can add to that. You know
what I mean? Why would you wait the last week or so to do that when he's just moved? You haven't got enough time, so I don't understand that statement. What you said? Why did we
before we go back to eye test? Go on, Danny.
Sorry. Yeah, it's not just that. It's when you have a good transfer policy, and you're identifying players that can make a difference to your team, and you're 100% sure about them, it doesn't make sense if you don't get that player to just go, well, you know what, we didn't get him, so let's just go get this guy who's nearly as good as that guy. We didn't want him as much as this first person. Yeah, let's just go and, I don't know, spend 50, 60 million on him.
Better than nothing.
No, but it's not though, ITS, because that is what we did.
It's just a waste of money.
Hang on, guys.
Exactly.
That is what we did.
So
from
let me just
that,
finish the point, Terry.
Go on, mate. Go on.
Instead, what we do, all right, the £50 million player we wanted is not available. What we're going to do now, for a short-term fix, let's get a player on less than 100 grand a week. That's not going to cost as much money. So when a player like Haaland becomes available again, we can act quickly and go and get him. If you just go around signing,
so
players
basically, you're gonna have a hole in your team until Haaland is available.
So no, but not quite like that. So again,
I'll give you. All right, let me just look at it like this. So Bruno Fernandes, we got a little bit lucky, right? We didn't get him in the summer because we didn't want to pay the fee that we didn't want to pay 65 million cash up front. Yeah, and Tottenham got a bit rejected as well. But in the end, we got him in January, right? Because we were patient. We said, look, we want this type of player. We're not just gonna. And after we didn't get Hernandez, did we go around looking at other people and just say, let's just go spend 50 million here? No, we waited and got the player we wanted, and look how that turned out. And you need to be consistent. When you're principled, you will make sacrifices in the short term that hurt you, but in the long term will benefit you.
And
I prefer a transfer
absolutely
like
right.
that and just signing
absolutely
anybody.
Right. And this is the point about people being patient here, because I feel under Ollie, if you can't see the strategy and how we're going attacking the market differently, I'm not going to take your opinion seriously, because it's as clear as day, right? It's just someone's in a really noisy background. If you can mute for me, that'd be amazing. I just sort of feel like we're in this situation where people want everything at once. They want multiple targets and multiple signings. We did that in the post-Fergie era, where we haven't got who we wanted. Let's go for this guy. Let's go for that guy. Who's available? Right, let's go for these two on deadline day. And do you know what? Every single summer, barring Moises, we pretty much buzzed over who we signed. When we signed Falcao and Di Maria late in the window, whoa, amazing, right? When we had the Pogbas and the Mkhitaryan's and the Zlatans and the Bays, buzzed about it. Pretty much every summer we would spring people in. We're like, rah, serious players there, man. Let's go. Season's back. When we signed Schneiderlin and Memphis Depay and Schweinsteiger, the expectations were high. All these signings were wrong for us on multiple levels. Some were panic buys. Some, there was no planning. Some didn't really want to join. They only came because we offered them money. Equally, generally, if you're buying someone from Bayern Munich, the Thiago deal is different here because they tried to keep him. When Bayern Munich don't want a player anymore, don't touch it with a barge pole. And you've learned that from the Schweinsteiger deal. Our strategy was awful. We had no direction. Now we've got one. On the Haaland, this is why I want to be patient about the Haaland deal. If we're signing this forthcoming summer for £50 million, by the way, this is how it will be spun by the media. You pay £30 million extra for him than you could have done 18 months ago. That's how it's spun. But no, we've now bought him without a ridiculous buyout clause, which means we can lose him in 2 years. And that's the truth behind these things. I prefer our transfer strategy now. And people talk about getting good deals, right? We may pick up Tellus for around 18 million and Donny van der Beek for 35 million. These are players with a combined market value of around 85 to 90 million pounds in the market. And we might be picking them up for something like 40% less than their market value. Where's the praise? There isn't any. It's being twisted into why have we taken so long? Every other club in this post-CV19 market that's taken a long time to negotiate and bringing these deals in is being praised for it. Whatever Man United do, because fans are always negative, the media will push it that way. The business and the strategy that we now have, is it perfect? No. Is it executed with 100% precision? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But is it better than what we've had before? Yes. Are the vast majority of our signings been successful? And just to tackle the Ighalo situation, the Ighalo type signings, for me, are perfect in the sense of we didn't get a number one target, but there's still a chance in 18 months we can get that player, or still a chance in the summer we can get him. Let's bring in a loan move. Let's bring in a temporary move. Like if we don't get Jadon Sancho, but we were to bring in a Douglas Costa on loan, that for me, it appeases things because it isn't someone as good as Sancho, but But equally, you're not tying a man into a 4 or 5 year deal when you can't get rid of him and creating another Phil Jones, Ashley Young situation. But it's a makeshift until you can get that position. That for me seems like a more sensible strategy. I'll give you an example with Chelsea. Do you think Chelsea's long-term plans are about Thiago Silva at the back? No, but it's a makeshift player that they can get in the meantime, in that position for a couple of years on a decent amount of money while they find somebody else. I wouldn't be surprised next summer if Chelsea go for Upper Meccano or somebody of that level to do that. But this is how you've got to do it when your strategy's right. You know, Liverpool, look at some of the players they've signed in recent times. You know, the Shaqiris of this world, who, by the way, didn't pan out to do as well as he did in his opening 6 months, but he filled that hole. You know, Liverpool are about to go and sign a player for £45 million in Diogo Jota, who's good, right? But he's there as a backup player. But no one's looking. Why did that take all summer? Why couldn't they get that done weeks ago?
Oh, but why is that not a negative? We got Van der Beek, who's a proven player in the Champions League. But like, you know, that's a bad signing. It's a panic buy.
Yeah, and if you apply the logic, by the way, so on this, let me just address this last thing. If you apply that logic, okay, they've signed a player that they've already got Shaqiri, they've already got Minamino, they've already got Divock Origi, they've already got 3 players and Brewster, they've got 4 players that go into those attacking roles for them already. Why do they need one more? That's the narrative that's pushed about us signing Donny van der Beek, a vanity signing we don't need. By the way, Liverpool do need Jota because he's now better than all their other backup players. That's a fact. He's a brilliant signing. But Man United gets twisted into a negative all the time. And on me defending the Glazers, like I've said before, I will stand there on the picket line and say Glazers out. I want them gone. However, what I won't allow to happen because of who gets attacked is my club to be lied about by the media. I will not side with the gutter press on a lie just because I don't like the individual. If the Sun newspaper today, I don't like Liverpool as a football club. I'm a Man United fan. If the Sun newspaper today make a lie up about Virgil van Dijk, I'm standing by Virgil van Dijk's side and defending him against a lie that the media have printed. Because for me, my morality and integrity is far more important than winning a petty little battle. I want the Glazers out. I don't like what Woodward have done in many occasions. But what I won't stand there and do is see journalists make up bull-faced lies about Man United, which lead to Ollie being attacked, which lead to our players being abused online, which leads to our social media accounts being absolutely disgustingly responded to. That's what it leads to. I won't stand idly by and watch that. If you cannot defend your club against lies about your football club, you cannot love them. My brother could do pretty much any crime in the world and I'd have his back. There's 2 or 3, and don't need to name them, you know what they are, where I wouldn't have his back, right? My brother could annoy me, could upset me, I could want him out of my life. But if people started attacking him, because I love him as my brother, I'm going to back him still. There'll come a point where I'm like, all right, enough is enough now. You've had your say, you're going too far. Now, my brother always had a rule for me on the estate we grew up on. My brother Terry's mouthy. I know that, and I know he's going to annoy you. You can give him a little dig if he's too mouthy. But if you bruise him or you make him bleed, it's on. And that was it. There's a limit to where you can push your club. Attack the Glazers all day long, but don't allow the football club and Ollie to be lied about. That for me is where it goes too far. So if that makes me a Glazer sympathizer, cool. I'm not going to back down. I'm going to back my team today when we kick off against Crystal Palace. I'm not having Donny van der Beek turn into a vanity signing. I'm not having Bruno Fernandes's deal spoken about as if we didn't get £20 million off the asking price, and if we didn't do great business by sticking to our plans and signing him and not going anywhere else and making one of the best January signings in history. How dare you take that away from my football club? I don't care that the Glazers are our owners. You're not taking that away from us. You're not doing it. We've got Cameron on the line with us now. Cameron, what you saying, bro?
What's up? Feeling wavy. First time I've been able to make a morning show for you guys.
I know, it's true. It's true.
It's late for me. But yeah, so I just want to come on because I have a few, you know how I feel about Alex Telles, first off. So if this happens, I'll be extremely happy. But back to kind of what you were saying in whatever, like my only problem with the Liverpool deal with Jota, like he's a good player, and you asked earlier what would you do differently if you were running the transfers? Yeah. If I was running the transfers for United, I would just kind of do the same thing that Liverpool did, where it's like you're just quiet about them. That's what hurts us. It's not the like back and forth. We know negotiations happen. We know maybe this Jota deal didn't happen overnight, but guess what? Like we weren't talking about it. None of us were. Like we were paying attention. I've been paying attention. Like that came out of nowhere for me. And that's how I would prefer if we had more deals like the Van de Beek deal that kind of just happen quickly, because these sagas are what bring in the fake fans, and it allows the media, it allows the fake news, it allows all that to happen, because we have all this news going back and forth where it's just like, and I know we get dragged into so much. I know we do, because we have to, because it's United and we drive clicks, but it'd be nice if we could just go through one, maybe two transfer windows where it's just our deals happen quick, quietly, done. That's what I would do differently. Otherwise, I agree with you. It's like, listen, we got a better deal. I follow these deals from start to finish.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes, it was quoted 65 million, whatever, like a lot more than what we paid at the start. And we did bring it down, but it'll never be reported that way. But I would just like it if those reports just didn't happen.
Yeah, I get that, bro. But the point I would make on that is, though, is it Man United that are leaking the information, or is it 85, 90% liars? Because, bro, I know that Woodward addressed this, and it's because we don't like Woodward as a collective that we're not listening to him. This is where it comes down to this notion. I've pushed it for years. We don't often care what actions a person takes. We care who's making those actions, because it's been proven in politics. You know, you're over there in North America. You hear about more than us that you've had people go on the campuses and quote things that Trump has said, and they go, it's disgraceful. And they go, actually, it was Hillary Clinton, or actually, it was Barack Obama. And they go, well, they look for an excuse for it, right? Do you get where I'm coming from? And we see it in politics. And because people do it in politics, you know they do it in football. But Woodward has come out and showed us that we were linked in January to 137 different players. That's not Man United doing that. It's the media just doing it. And I think the problem is we get embroiled in it. And sometimes I sit there and think, you know, we as a channel sit there and we give the news and we give everybody an opportunity to come and have their say. But I still read hundreds of comments a day going, oh, I can't believe this deal's happening. And I'm like, bro, the emoji's got poo. The title's got poo emojis in it and got the word debunked in the title. And you don't even read the full title, and you've made an opinion on it. It's like, do some research, read something. You know, we say on every single video we do here, if there's a story that's got multiple journalists giving their own version of events about it, I think there's an element of truth. When it's one story being reiterated by 20 different publications, that tells me it's a load of old nonsense.
But I hear you on this. But the reason why I say this, it's how many times, and we know this with deals that have gone over the line, that they came out early, like the Harry Maguires, like the Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We knew those deals were happening all last summer, and they came out early and they dragged on. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, I agree with you. Of course, the 150 different players that we're linked with, and these random agents coming out saying, oh, we've called it, that's all nonsense. We know a lot of that doesn't make sense, but I'm saying the deals like the Aaron Wan-Bissakas or the Harry Maguires that took all summer, and we understand there was a negotiation period, but I would have just preferred, like, again, to answer your question, it's like, if you're United, get those deals done a bit more quietly.
And I get that, and I do get that, but they knew those deals. But what I would say, Cameron, is they would appear more quiet if at the same time we weren't linked to 137 other players. It's because there's so much noise. And that's the difference. I mean, you look at this summer, and we go this summer as an example. It took Liverpool 8.5 to 9 weeks to negotiate the deal for Thiago. It took Chelsea 11.5 weeks from start to finish to negotiate the deal for Kai Havertz. That was very, very noisy. I'm just pointing these out as examples. Arsenal all summer. The problem we have is that Man United are put into this box of, we're the only ones who do, or our fans are led to believe that we're the only ones who struggle to get deals done on negotiate. And I'm going to do the research. It's going to take me days and days and days. I want to look at how many signings in, forget the post-Fergie era. I think we had 2 or 3 good summers under Fergie where we got business done very early and moved on. I honestly feel like those couple of really good summers have set this precedent that doesn't really exist. They're an anomaly to how most windows go for most football clubs. And then you get people push it out that it's only a good summer if you get all your players signed before pre-season. What I want someone to do is the research and show me how many top clubs actually make all their signings before they kick a ball. I mean, Bayern Munich are lauded as being brilliant. They're still trying to sign players now. Their season's begun. I don't understand this. Again, I think sometimes we're indoctrinated to believe these things because a few pundits say, we're like, oh, yeah, that's true. But how many clubs actually operate like that? And I'm talking, let's focus on the successful ones and let's see what they actually... Do you get where I'm coming from? Because sometimes I feel like we don't know what we're actually talking about.
It's the size of the club, and that's where we kind of get that. And same with Barcelona. You see with Barcelona, everybody kind of talks about Barcelona and how their board's terrible and whatnot. And let's be honest, they kind of have been. But you're right. It is the size of the club that kind of sewers us because you're right. Bayern's still trying to get deals over the line. Bayern, like, it took them a whole year to get Sane. Like, most people will not talk about why didn't Bayern get Sane over the line last year. Like, but not enough people talk about Werner being missed out on. Like, for me, I'm sitting here seeing Jota being signed, and I'm thinking, you signed Jota and you signed Thiago for basically the same amount that Werner would have cost. Now, right? Like, who would have been the better? Like, what, in my opinion, what would have been the better player, or the two players? Is the two players better, or is the one? So, it is. You're right that this happens, but there is still a feeling of incompetency when it comes to Woodward when you make the comments that he makes out loud. So that's kind of the problem. He started this transfer window saying we could do more than anybody else could do in the window. He came out bragging about like our pull. This is where the mistake happens.
And that's
if
mate,
he didn't
and I
do
agree.
this, then we're good.
I
We're
agree.
In the clear.
I agree,
but
bro.
He did that.
I agree. He did that.
that
I agree. He did that. I totally agree that he's, like I've said, I'm not saying I'm not. This is why I'm not defending them in sense of they've made mistakes and definitely done things wrong. There's a comment here, a super chat from Scott, and I almost think this is bang on. He says the mainstream media are trying hard to recreate deadline day the whole way through the window purely for views. You got to remember, like when you look at Sky, I do still watch Sky. I have it on the background a lot. Every day they do like the transfer sections in summer that looks like deadline day. It has, do you get what I mean? It's I think that's what the issue with it is. And because there's more of us and we're angry, but if Man United were still winning titles and we did business like we're doing it, nobody would care. You know, Liverpool fans are not crying that they took so long to sign Thiago. They're not crying that Klopp said they won't spend money. What I loved yesterday, and I know I addressed this last night, the amount of Liverpool fans saying to me, Terry, we haven't actually spent 45 million here and 20 million. It's 5 and 4 million respectively year one. And I'm like, you know what, bro? You're preaching to the man that's been teaching you fools for 3 years, not you fools on the call. I'm just talking general, these trolls, about how you pay off things are written off by amortization and paid in installments. And now you're trying to tell me that you just discovered fire. It's a madness, bro. It made me laugh. But that's just my view on it. And that's, again, how football... You know, we were talking about it last night, and I think that KJ makes a good point, where the focus on money, I think as the Football Terrace, we're going to start pulling away from that, because it just actually muddies the water around, is it a good signing or not? Yeah, it is, because we're only paying
exactly, because we're all big clubs.
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to spend. You know, like it has got to the point where people come on being like, well, your club spent this, we spent that. We've all spent money.
Exactly.
I mean, the one manager who maybe did it the best without spending, Alex Ferguson didn't really compete with the big signings as much. He spent, but he didn't spend as big. But it doesn't matter. He still spent. And we're all big clubs. Like, this is the crazy dichotomy of it all. If you don't spend, you're not ambitious. When you do spend, and if you get it wrong, you're incompetent. It's like, so which is it? Like, you can't get every signing right. You could go through every club and take down every signing.
You know, you're so right on that, bro. You're so right on that. And this is where fans have just got to be, whether you like the club or not, just that little bit more patient in terms of
I've seen fans say they would be upset if we still got Jadon Sancho because of the way it happened. Are you kidding me? I don't care if it happens on October 5th. Mate, if we get him, we get him.
I've seen tweets today from people basically saying, even if we pull off Telles and Sancho now, today, it's a bad summer because we're about to kick a ball. And, you know, you sort of like it, but that's the narrative that's pushed. And that's what the
enemies of football.
Yeah. And this is it. And like I've said, I wonder, if you did the research, I wonder how many signings even under Fergie were late after we kicked our first ball, close to the first ball being kicked. And, you know, and it's about, for me, I like facts. And I think what often happens is, we know this in life, perception is a reality for some people, but that's why I like to challenge the perception and see what the perception looks like, if that makes sense. And it's just one of those things for me. And look, there are lots of negative Man United fans out there. You know, I literally heard United. I was tweeting a United fan yesterday, and he said, with the direct messaging, I'm just trying to understand something he's talking about. And he literally said, even if we win the league this year, he's still Ollie out, and he's still. And I'm like, and he goes, I'm still not going to respect anything he does. And that's the issue here. You're dealing with hundreds, if not thousands, of those people online that push that notion, you know, and it's, I think,
can't even fathom that thought.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
A fan when your manager if your manager wins you a league and you're still disappointed, like, how are you even a fan still? Oh, that's mind-boggling.
Well, like
I backed Jose because he was winning trophies. I was like, yo, I don't love this. Like, I don't love what's going on. I could see the problems, but he was winning trophies. And then when he stopped, yeah, that's when I was a little bit. You have to back your manager no matter what. Like, how are you that's wild.
mate, but I've seen, and you'll see it all, like I've said, I literally predicted this the other day. If we don't sign anyone, it's disastrous. If we sign anybody now, it's disastrous. If we signed it early, it would be, should we really be spending that money in the way we're doing it, as an example? You know, there's a lot of people are writing off the season even with no more signings. And I'm like, yo, did you see us in the back end of last season? From the end of January to the end of the season, we were the most informed team in England. When we had our players, we're adding Donny van der Beek to that. That gives you no level of confidence. People are like, no. But someone said to me today, yeah, but we still need a centre-back. Centre-back is a major issue for us. I'm like, bruv, let's go through the facts here. The facts. Conceded 40% less goals in all competitions. 100% better on clean sheets last season as opposed to the year before. We conceded somewhere in the region of 60% less shots on goal in the Premier League. We conceded over 40% less goals from open play in the Premier League, as an example. Across all metrics, both in terms of a unit and as an overall team, we improved defensively last year by epic proportions. To a point where, again, I spoke about from the end of January to the end of the season, the only team with a better defensive record than Man United with Liverpool, they conceded 24 goals. We conceded 25 goals, as an example. Everybody else was in the higher 20s or in the mid 30s, as an example. So I just sort of sit there and think to myself, like, if you throw in Alex Telles into this, you have Maguire 1 year more experienced at United. You have AWB a year older. You now have a much better midfield for the whole season in front of those players. And hopefully a more potent attack in terms of adding the likes of Alex Telles and maybe Jadon Sancho to it. You're thinking, is it perfect? Would I still like an Upamecano next summer? Yes. But the doom and gloom with these individuals is always there. And now what they've learned to do, by the way, these were the same people that when Jose Mourinho was failing and people like me were telling them to their faces that Mourinho's a small problem at the club, it's the owners and it's the Glazers, they quite literally would say, no, Terry, it's him. Remove him and you will see a massive improvement. Because that didn't happen. And now it's like, oh, what's the next negative thing? It's now if you praise any element of the way the club's being run. So if you say our transfer strategy has been great under Ollie, it's you're a Glazer sympathizer. If you say Ollie's doing a great job, it's like, no, he's a Glazer puppet. You're a Glazer sympathizer. They're literally doing what I call it the Trump politics tactic. It's just whatever you say now that's positive about Man United, they turn it into, like the sort of the extreme left's view that if you disagree with anything they say, they just go, what, you don't believe in X, Y, and Z? No, not fully. That means you're a Nazi. That's literally where they're taking it now. It's like if you turn around and go, do you think the way we signed Bruno was good? Yes. That means you're a Glazer sympathizer. That's how it is now. And that's what they'll do. If you say we play good football, you're a Glazer sympathizer. If you say you're happy with a signing, Glazer sympathizer. It's going to get to a point where if you cheer a goal, you're going to be a Glazer sympathizer. The irony is, though, these people still buy football kits of Man United, download the app, watch MUTV, and buy merchandise, which is the biggest thing that you can do to support the Glazers. You know what I mean? And this is why I feel sorry for United fans. They're angry and emotional and upset with how their rivals are behaving, and they're suckered into this indoctrination. And I just find it absolutely amazing. And we are going to slap up Crystal Palace, by the way, today.
Yeah,
we are going to slap up Palace today, right? And then I want to see, I'm addressing you negative Man United fans. When we slap up Palace today, when we play well and banging over 3 goals, when Donny van der Beek balls, when Bruno kills it, when Greenwood looks like the man, when we keep that clean sheet, what are you going to be saying? I know what you're going to say. Freestyle football. Freestyle football.
There's still be people out there to pick out little mistakes, even though we've won. We've slapped the team. There'll always be someone out there to just, you can't make someone happy, like literally.
It is crazy because I hear what you're saying, Pav. Like, you have like pundits out there who say we shouldn't even be going after Sancho because we have Greenwood. You have people saying, you have these negative people out there who are bringing down Bruno because he won Player of the Year. It's no matter what we do, there's going to be the negative fans. There's going to be positive. But I agree
with what you just said. That the problem is, it's okay for all the other teams to have squad depth, but when it comes to our club,
you're not allowed
it's
it.
an issue.
Exactly.
It's an issue for us.
And are you to blame? I used to blame the media for that. Every single time for me, it was the media. Media are just twisting things. And then I realized a year or so, it's not the media. Fans say it. The media have the easiest job in the world now. Sit on Twitter for 2 or 3 hours, see what the narrative is that's picking up pace, and write a story that feeds into it. Because everybody enjoys confirmation bias. Everybody is narcissistic. And when you read something that's confirmation bias based, there's no facts in it, but it just confirms your bias. It releases endorphins. It releases there's a literal chemical drug release in your mind, which is addictive. And it's why certain United fans have become addicted to being negative on social media, because the attention that it gives them a buzz. It gives them a buzz to feel that. It's the same as trolls that come in here and abuse and say things like I used to play tricks on a lot of these guys. They'd abuse me for weeks on here, and then I'd make them a moderator, and they'd be like, "Oh, thank you so much, man." They were only abusing for the attention, because the attention, when they got it, gives them a little buzz, and it becomes an addictive drug. There's a drug in your brain it releases. I can't remember what it's called now. And this is the whole point here. These people are addicted to being negative about Man United, and they don't know how to get out of that cycle. And the media just perpetuate it by going, "Well, we'll just print that." You know, for me, like, why I want to see Julian Laurent have that conversation with an articulate Man United fan from a really good Man United podcast who can challenge his points. And I want to see how these professionals actually cope in an environment where they're being challenged. They're just out there spouting nonsense and no one's challenging them. I find it mad.
But like you said earlier, these are the same dudes who are not talking about the fact that the deals for Bale and Reguilon were basically loans. Like, nobody's like, it's crazy. Like you say, they call us incompetent, but nobody's saying, "Oh, by the way, there's a buyback clause. By the way, there's a first refusal clause. Oh, by the way, Bale might not play for 3 weeks." Like, no one's talking about that.
Look what they did. Look what they did.
Tottenham for that either.
But look what they did every single time. I mean, I don't know if these reports are true. Is it reported that is Gareth Bale out for 3 weeks already?
He might not play for 4 weeks.
So again, I'm not laughing at Tottenham. I think Bale and Reguilon for them is good business in terms of what they'll do. If we signed Gareth Bale on loan at 400 grand a week, and he was injured for that first month, we would be laughed at and ridiculed for signing a crock. And
for 425 a week.
There's a comment here from Victor that says, "Terry, now you sound like you're supporting the Glazers. Ollie couldn't blame the fans, but you and the Glazers are." No, I'm not blaming the majority of Man. I think the majority of Man United fans are fully behind Ollie. I think the majority of Manchester United fans are positive. The difference is the majority are silent. The minority are noisy. And then what the minority have on their hands, and this is where you're getting it wrong, bro, and this is where you don't understand it. The minority of United fans allowed a negative become a majority. And I'll tell you as to how. Because they form allegiances with Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, City, and Liverpool fans. Because they go, whenever you see a rival fan slag off their own club, it creates traction. So what happens is they're a small group of United fans, but there's a big group of them doing it. That's why they get an F. Go and look at your negative United accounts, Twitter, and look when they say something negative. Go look at the volume of the retweets and shares. So many of them are Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans and Liverpool fans. Are like, yeah, it's what. Look, AFTV is an amazing channel, but when Arsenal lose, what do all rivals say? AFTV and chill, because they all want to go there. Go, look at our rivals melting. That's the point. So it's not about. I'm not saying that you can't criticize Man United. You can. But this is where you're getting it wrong, Victor. And I tweeted the other day, and I want to see how many people would miss it. If you never defend your club, if you never have the teams back, if everything is twisted into a negative, you can't love your football club. That's my point. Of course, you can say Woodward's crap. Of course, you can moan if we don't play well today. Of course, you can criticize Maguire if he gets turned inside out and has a bad game. No one's saying you can't. However, if he then has 8 great games on the bounce, I expect you to say, "Well done, Maguire." When you don't and you continue to say he's rubbish, I don't think you're a true Man United fan at heart. I don't. And then the only defense they have is, "I've got high expectations." You don't have high expectations. You have unrealistic, impossible to achieve expectations. And we know this because you say, if Ollie wins the Premier League, I'm still not going to support him. So he wins the ultimate prize that proves you're the best team in England, and you still won't support him. It makes no sense to me to call me a Glazer sympathizer for calling out those fans. And by the way, if we win the Premier League and Champions League this year, I still don't want the Glazers in. But I'll praise the club as an overall for winning the 2 biggest tournaments in the world. I don't see how you can't have those 2 things coexist at the same time. Why? Do you not think that? Because the world has become excessively polarized, where you're either one thing or another. The world used to be, I agree with 3 points from this side and 3 points from that side. Now it's like you agree with everything here or everything there. If you don't, you can't live in no man's land. You're in no man's land. Everyone's shooting at you. You're like, what's going on? You have no allegiances. It's for me, it's a mental illness. It's a true mental illness. And I need psychologists and the government to start treating people for this, because it's polarization is literally ripping things apart from societies right through to fan bases. It's crazy. You can say the Glazers are not very good, but praise a bit of transfer business and not be a Glazer sympathizer. That for me can exist. We got some super chats here. Gotti Reyes here says, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say Sancho will sign for Man United and start the opening game? No.
Oh,
I said
Christ, that's not what you said. I was on that call. So
go on, mate. Tell him what I said.
So literally, you said you'd love to see it, but we talked about it, and I even said I don't really believe it's going to happen. And you said I agree with you. I don't either, but I'd like to believe it's going to happen, because at the end of the day, we all would like to believe it's going to happen. It's what the media reported. It's what that Norwegian guy said. And then you said Jan, I can't say his last name.
Fjørtoft,
you say it really well.
Yeah.
Fjørtoft retweeted it, and you're like, there's maybe something here. That's all. That's what the conversation was.
So I didn't say it.
Both. Like, I remember you said, Cam, what do you think? And I go, yeah. And you're like, yeah, me too. But it's nice to think about that, right? Like, I do get frustrated when I see people say, Terry, didn't you say this? And I'm like, dog, I was talking to him. Like, I was on.
I know, it's crazy what people hear and don't hear.
Conversation.
Dinesh here says everyone will forget everyone will forget we have a compressed season. We've got the Euros to play and World Cup qualifications. Jota will play for Liverpool. Bro, nobody said he won't play. I don't listen. Liverpool, this is what you got to understand, Liverpool fans. People are going to start calling Jota a panic buy because it's late in the window. And the reason they're going to do that is because their club are being accused of panic buying late in the window. And they look at, and this is what happens. Man United sign late panic buy. United fans then see Liverpool buy late, and it's called brilliant business. It's going to trigger them. And this is, again, the media playing the Pied Piper and having you all on strings. Wake up.
And it's because we're bigger clubs. Is anybody talking about the fact that City may not get Koulibaly? Like, that might not go through because of bad blood with the 2 clubs. But no, that's not in the news. You know why? Because nobody cares about City. Like, that's like at the end of the day, that's the unfortunate truth. As good as they are, as phenomenal as that team is, and I won't take anything away from them, they don't drive clicks. So the fact that they are currently struggling to sign Koulibaly because of the price, nobody's talking about that. But it's all about us not being able to sign.
Oh. For whatever reason, that cut off there, Cam. I'm not too sure why.
Looks like his connection's dropped.
Yeah, something happened there. But no, I totally agree with what
Nobody's saying.
Sorry, you're back now. Yeah. Sorry, you cut off, mate. We didn't hear what you said.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying is going to potentially miss out on Koulibaly. You know why? Because nobody cares about City in the sense of, like, they don't drive clicks. Phenomenal team, but they're not big enough. So everybody talks about the fact that, we might miss out on Sancho because we're so big because of the price. But let's look at what's happening right now with another big transfer saga. Koulibaly was supposed to be locked in for City, and they're going back and forth on price because they don't want to pay what they're asking.
Exactly. But again, as you say, it's and this is where Man United fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee, but they don't want to because it doesn't suit it, it doesn't suit the narrative at the moment. But there we go. Boys, I appreciate you all coming and having your say. We're back today live from around 4:30. We've got Aaron, Flawless, and JV on the show for the watch along. Man United versus Crystal Palace. And then we'll be live straight after that game for a live phone-in show. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Later, man.